Warning, this video will contain complaining, ranting, and whining to the nth degree. Feel free to leave your complaints in the comments below. Thank you.
You know, I should probably be more concerned about her. Nah, hyperfixating is easier. Back to who? Hello, interwebs. I'm back from the dead yet again to talk nonsense, this time of the negative variety. But let me first spin a tale for you. So, imagine if you will, you live in a town where everyone, for God knows what reason, hates mint. And you also hate mint, you freak. In this fictional world, you assume, since everyone you know hates mint and you hate mint, that no one really likes mint at all. At least until you step into the woods, meet me, York in hand, telling you how awesome mint is. And suddenly you're forced to confront the fact that something you just assumed everyone hated does in fact have fans. All this to say, I didn't really think I need to explain why I hate the Wedding River song. I'd never heard anyone say they liked it, so I kind of just figured I wouldn't need to elaborate. Like, obviously, you all know it sucks, we can move on now. You can call me stupid for that, and that's fair, but genuinely I just hadn't considered it. Usually when I shit on things needlessly, like Clara, 10, and Russell's writing, I'm at least aware it has many people who love it. I'm just a dick who doesn't care. But with this, it was unintentional, so I apologize for that. Now to make up for it, here's why the thing you like is shit. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. Okay, I'm mostly fucking with you. I'm going to do a review on this episode explaining why I hate it so much, make my jabs, all that, just like the last video, only mean. But afterwards, I'm going to take the time to explain how I would have written it. And, once it's finished, link my version in the comments so you Wedding River song fans have something to shit on me over. I'm serious, go nuts. Art is made to be criticized after all, and that way we'll be even Steven. Moffat. I'm not sorry. Now then, let's get down and dirty with the episode that did River dirty, shall we?
That's what she said.
So we start the episode off with visual exposition, and more, and more, and callbacks, and then audible exposition. Oh man, now we're really spicing it up, eh, boys? Yeah, okay, so here's the thing about the first half of this episode. I don't have much to say on it. Unfortunately, despite how much supposedly happens, there's not actually much going on. Like, this episode has some good moments and some especially bad ones, but those are infrequent at best and mostly in the second half. The majority of this episode is just explaining what's going on or why it's going on or how it's going on. Like, no one is really doing anything. It just looks like they are because the set changes and Matt's talking to different people in his threatening voice. But really, it's just dragging out what could have been a 1 minute long conversation into multiple several minute conversations, and it just eats up so much time. Meanwhile, in a plot sense, the episode's just jogging in place. Where Let's Kill Hitler was a fun, messy episode that occasionally got interrupted by exposition dumps, this episode is just exposition that occasionally shows flickers of a messy episode. Like, what am I meant to talk about here? The doctor tells the chancellor he went to get information on the silence, got the information, had a tantrum, decided to die, and then didn't. There, I summarized nearly half the episode. And keep in mind, none of the information we actually learn about the silence will even be relevant until season 7. And the payoff sucks. So why is it here? It's like a DC movie. Instead of focusing on making this finale good, Moffat's busy building up the next one. It just doesn't work. And more importantly, above everything else, none of this is fun. It's just Matt being an edgelord and a bunch of boring non-characters reacting to it. And while the Doctor being an edgelord can be good, it only really works when there's a proper reason for it. And here, well, we'll get into that. For now, let's just rattle off the few comments I could think of while my eyes were glazing over and move on from there.
A woman.
Jesus Christ, that beard is awful. Glad we learned nothing from the impossible astronaut.
Vandeleur has been dead for 6 months. Hello again.
Oh, hey there, plot device. Good to see you again.
You mentioned a woman.
Yes. I'm getting to her.
What's she like? Attractive, I assume.
Say yes.
Hell. In high heels.
Coward.
Crowd are getting restless. They know the Queen is your only legal move.
You think Neil Gaiman watched this episode, saw this scene, and thought to himself, yeah, I can do it better. God, those effects are just... yeesh.
The first question. The oldest question in the universe, hidden in plain sight. Would you like to know what it is?
He does seem like he'd have a body of information at his disposal.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Now, Doctor, don't be getting ahead of yourself.
I'm running all my life. Why should I stop?
Because now you know what's at stake, why your life must end.
Not today.
God, man, this question shit isn't that serious. No need to lose your head over it.
I have got a time machine, Dorian. It's all still going on. For me, it never stops.
Insert fourth pun here. All right, then, I think that's it.
They're going to kill me too, very soon.
Oi, no, bad. I'll get back to you. And so with nearly half the episode done, we get into the first scene of the episode actually worth diving into. The Brigadier scene. Oh fuck, I'm going to get killed. Okay, please, just hear me out. Is this scene incredibly sweet? Yes, it's an homage to the actor of the Brigadier, a classic Who character I don't know very well yet, but I have liked what I've seen of him. Rest in peace, man. It's bittersweet and wonderfully acted by Matt before and after the reveal. Everything about it is just great. Out of context. In context, I have some issues. You see, there's a certain criticism of this episode I see all the time, that being it should have been a two-parter. It has too much going on, people say, it's rushed, others cry, but there's a problem with that idea. You could cut out the majority of this episode and the story wouldn't change, including this scene. I'm serious, watch the last episode, the cold open to this one, and then skip to the beach scene. Nothing really changes. If anything, it makes the episode better because the last episode's conclusion had the Doctor accepting his death already.
They're going to kill me too very soon. I was just going to lie down and take...
Oi, no, later. This scene in isolation works, but when you look at it in context, it's just story-wise, not execution-wise, only story-wise, a worse version of a scene we already had. Where this time, it says the Doctor is deciding to walk to his death based on the danger he brings to his friends' lives. Instead, he decides to die because it's unavoidable, which are two very different motivations to get to the same conclusion. Where one is the final result of what the season has been building up to this entire time, the other is him just going, guess I'll die, but all dramatic-like. That's not to say that death's inevitable can't be an interesting story, mind you. Hell, I give Davies a lot of shit, but he did it very well in his final two specials, showing the running, the paranoia, the anger, the begrudging acceptance, everything that can come from that type of tale without hardly any build-up, and yet somehow it still works and felt earned. The problem is that Moffat built up a completely different story and then just didn't do it. He spent this entire season building up to the Doctor gaining a martyr complex that results in suicidal ideation based off his own failings as well as tragic coincidence. The literal entire point of this season was him coming to the conclusion that the universe would be better off without him and seeing his death as a good thing that would make people's lives better, and then...
They're going to kill me too very soon. I was just going to lie down and take it. But you know what? Before I go, I'd like to know why I have to die.
Oi! Oh, wait, no, yeah, it is your turn this time. This line demonstrates everything wrong with this half of the episode, because genuinely, it feels like this moment was solely added into the script as an excuse to try and brush off the backtracking going on here. Like, yeah, Doc, it is weird that last episode you were all ready to die and now suddenly you're interested in exposition. That sure is strange, huh? Sure is no reason behind it, though. I mean, seriously, we could have had the story that New Who has been leading us towards for years. Given the first fucking episode, we had a character saying that death follows the Doctor. Having the Doctor himself eventually come to that same conclusion isn't far-fetched at all. I'd almost say it was inevitable. Having the finale of this season be about the Doctor dealing with suicidal despair and self-hatred, only to be helped and reminded that he is loved and matters, that he is wrong about being a burden to the universe, it would have been perfect. But instead, we got an entire first act of walking it all back so we could be spoon-fed the silence's motivations, leading Moffat to pull new rushed arcs straight out of his ass so that we could get to the place we already were last episode. That's literally the only reason this scene is here, and it sucks because it's a really good, well-acted scene that I wish I could give the same praise everyone else does. But I can't. You can't use continuity jabs and emotional manipulation to hide your shit writing decision, Moffat. I can see the man behind the curtain. It's you. So we move on to the beach scene where this episode actually starts. Goody. We get a really good conversation between River and the Doctor that I'd really enjoy if the episode didn't exist, but unfortunately it does.
Hello, sweetie.
What have you done?
Well, I think I just drained my weapon systems.
How did she do that? You take centuries to explain the silence's motivation, but you can't be bothered to explain the only reason the episode happens, Moffat. Great job. You get an E for extremely dense. Anyway, now that we're caught up, what are we doing now? Well, okay then.
No, Amy. Amy.
Oh, got it. So Amy is a...
That never happened, and if you try, if you really, really try, you'll be able to.
Jesus, Moffat, I didn't have time to think of something interesting. You already threw it away.
You look rubbish.
You look wonderful.
Yeah, okay, maybe I'm being harsh. After all, remembering things is Amy's quirk. I guess this makes sense, even if it's a sort of boring answer. So finally, we get a good scene that I can actually enjoy both in and out of context. Hooray, Wedding River song, you got one. It's literally just Amy and the Doctor being their usual selves, and literally every episode with them in it has at least one scene of this quality. But hey, the bare minimum is more than I expect from you.
You don't always look hard enough.
You know, it's hilarious to me that anyone ever shipped Amy and the Doctor. He was obviously an Ari shipper. He wants these two together and happy more than I want him and River together, and that's saying something. Anyway, time for more exposition. Thank God, I almost thought I was enjoying myself for a minute there. Man, the aquarium is a lot different than I remember. Hey, I forget. What's the silence's main way of killing again? Electricity? Yeah, I'm sure that's something to be concerned over.
That she would like to go out with you for texting and scones. You really haven't done this before, have you? No, I haven't.
Doc, you have done this before. Multiple times. It's a trait of this space specifically that you like playing matchmaker. God forbid Moffat remember his own continuity. Best scene in the episode, check.
Honey, I'm home.
And what sort of time do you call this?
Yep, still slaps.
Because I refuse to kill the man I love.
Oh, you love me, do you? Oh, that's sweet of you. Isn't that sweet? Come here, you.
Neither woman who marries you, nor the woman who murders you.
I don't want to marry you.
You know how I said earlier how the Doctor being an edgelord only works with proper motive? Yeah, this is what I mean. See this? The Doctor being needlessly aggressive for hardly any reason? This is why I hated 10 so much. It feels like Matt is sort of channeling Tennant right now because he's just as insufferable.
They're out! All of them!
Oh no, not my sea monkeys!
It has activated, ma'am.
I love him.
Tom didn't get it all from you, sweetie.
I love her.
You and me, we should get a drink sometime.
Okay.
I'm married.
I love them.
What's this? No, it's a timey-wimey distress me.
Oh god, and here we are, the worst scene in the episode. This scene is quite literally the most grotesque moment in this entire episode and in all of River's storyline, and I mean that with full sincerity. The Doctor here is so needlessly manipulative, cruel, and callous that I'd argue it borders on emotional abuse. And you may say that I'm overreacting, I'm exaggerating, but tell me this. Why doesn't he just tell River he won't die? Think about it. He's going on this tirade, calling her stupid, downplaying her emotions, putting in all this effort to be as big of a dick as possible, all while trying to convince her to kill him, when he could just stop all this right now by telling her the plan. He has no reason not to. Hell, he had no reason not to tell her on the beach. At least none that we're made aware of. Maybe he was afraid the silence would overhear, but in that case it's never established or even alluded to in the episode, so more likely he's just being stubborn and doesn't want to tell her he's faking his death and only gives in at the very, very end because he has no other choice. He thought that traumatizing River, berating her, treating her feelings like dirt beneath his heel, making her believe that she's a murderer of the man she loves was all worth it as long as his plan went exactly the way he wanted it to. Which is just, does that not disgust anyone else? I get it, technically, and I'm putting the biggest air quotes on technically, it'd protect her. But like, this is what I mean when edgelord Doctor only works with proper motive. He's just so mean here for no reason. He didn't need to be anywhere near this cruel to get his intentions across, but here we are. Honestly, it's just so fucking gross. This is what you've been building up this whole time, Moffat. This is the ship you've been leading us towards all season. This is awful. I love these two, despite this. Don't get me wrong. But this is just a dreadful, horrible display of their relationship that is worse than Manhattan. Do not approve. F-, ew. Nope, I can't even enjoy this. Now, you may have noticed something very strange about this review so far, it being that I've only really focused on the Doctor when this is called the wedding of River Song. Yeah, it is weird that I did that, isn't it? Look, y'all know where this is going. River is hardly in this episode and doesn't matter throughout all of it. She's a footnote, if that. This episode was meant to be her final bow, and instead it barely has room for her because Moffat got distracted by lore. River has so many questions in this episode that could have been answered, but just aren't. Examples are, when did she learn the Doctor's name if it wasn't their wedding? When was it? When was this magical time the Doctor would say his name? Why was it so important that he mentions it in the library? We don't know. When did she fall in love with the Doctor? Has he seen her since Berlin? Otherwise, it seems like a lot of emotional investment over a guy you've only properly met once, especially when he keeps treating you like shit. What even was her childhood? How did she get from New York to Ledworth? Did she get a vortex manipulator? Did Jack send her there? I'm pretty sure the Big Finish audios filled this in, but I don't consider those canon. Did the silence bring her there? It's not super important technically, but I mean, some kind of explanation would have been nice. And these aren't even all the questions left dangling. I'm sure there's more. Just what the fuck? They didn't even try. Anyway, after that kiss and a recap, we then get a cute Amy and River interaction and a drawn-out joke. Oh no, not this reveal. I meant season 7. Right then, final thoughts. This episode sucks. I'm sorry if you enjoy it, but like it really, really sucks. And what's worse is that I know I seem very passionate about it in this video, but that's only because I'm putting in the effort to analyze it. If I was just watching this with my brain turned off, I wouldn't be pissed, I'd just be fucking bored. This episode is nothing but explaining, just explaining, and then an actual scene starts and then it's back to explaining. It's not fun, it's not entertaining, it's not even interesting in concept. And the few good scenes it has are ruined if you pay attention to literally anything going on around them. It just fucking sucks. I don't know what else to tell you. But, that being said, what if I had a crack at it? Yep, time to talk rewrites. I'm going back in time, kicking Moffat out of the writer's chair, and giving you my version of The Wedding of River Song. So, this episode from Jump has a very similar premise, that being River changes what happens on the shore to save the Doctor. It's just that this time her trying to save him is the focus of the episode instead of the fixed point bullshit. Because I'm sorry, but I'd rather focus on our characters than world building and rules. That's what WoRS and Mars did. 10 altered a fixed point in history and, I didn't see the universe melting around him. Almost like that was a character-focused story and the world's rules were secondary to that. Wow, what a notion. Anyway, so yeah, River altering time to save the Doctor and the Doctor refusing that help is our premise. But obviously this wouldn't be a good Doctor Who episode without unnecessarily high stakes, so let's add some spice, shall we? River, in her efforts to save the Doctor, fights against the spacesuit, but instead of magically draining her weapon systems, which, seriously, how did she do that? She instead only manages to change her aim, shooting her future self. Oops. And because River's timeline is a never-ending string of bootstrap paradoxes, that means her entire timeline is now unraveling at the seams, and River Song is fading from existence. Oops. Obviously, the Doctor would then want to save her, not only because she's dying, but because he blames himself, only adding to his own desire for death. Hooray! So this episode's main story is essentially the Doctor pulling a Christmas Carol again, going back in River's timeline as to try and convince her not to move her arm in the future before she fades from existence. That's it. That's the episode. It's these two insane idiots each killing themselves to save the other while trying to convince each other to let them do it. It's so them, and it's so perfect. And before you start going on about paradoxes, since when has Moffat's era ever cared about those? The answer is whenever it's convenient. In other words, almost never. So, I don't care. What I do care about is these two trying to convince each other to kill each other while both being equally stubborn about it, with lots of drama and banter and flirting, all of it the added baggage of the Doctor's martyrdom that's been building up this whole season. That's what I'm looking for in a River episode, not exposition. But okay, I'm sure you're now wondering. So, how would an episode like that end? How's the Doctor and River land up, not dying? Well, obviously we know it's a test selecta, but how do we get from that to this? Well, eventually, the Doctor's time is running out. River's timeline is disintegrating more and more, and we get to the point where the TARDIS can only find one place she still exists in the past and might be willing to listen, no Mel's. And so, he's taken to Melody, in the orphanage, scared, practically alone, and about to fade away. Doctor asks for her, a child, to kill him to save herself. But Melody doesn't want to kill anyone. She's a little kid, she hasn't been properly brainwashed yet, and she doesn't want to hurt people, and so says no, which causes the Time Lord to break down. He's managing to keep his cool, relatively speaking, in the episode so far, but now he just shatters. And at seeing this, Melody asks the question, does he want to die? And that's the thing. The Doctor spent this whole time trying to convince River to kill him, insisting it was the only way to save her, but it never really was it? There was always another option. To save himself, but he didn't even try. Why? Well, we know the answer, because he convinced himself that the universe was better off without him, that he needed to die, so he didn't look for any other solution. But after a conversation with Melody, combined with all his conversation from River from that day, she's finally managed to remind him. He's a complete idiot. No surprise there, it's practically her calling. So the Doctor goes and has a chat with his younger self instead, who obviously tries to berate him for all the rules he's breaking right now, but he ignores that. Just like how I am. The two then go back and forth, and eventually the older of them wins out, and they decide to send one last letter. Oh, by the way, there was an extra envelope that I alluded to earlier in the episode, but I didn't mention in the summary. Oops. We then cut ahead to the beach scene again, only this time with the test selecta in a very different conversation, one in which the Doctor asks River to marry him, while she still has a gun pointed at him. Again, very them. And then she, after seeing behind his eyes of course, accepts, and then kills him. We get our little recap like in the original, and then skip to River being sentenced for the murder of the Doctor, where the Doctor himself immediately interrupts the second she's pronounced guilty, because of course he does. I mean, there just so happens that there's a judge and witnesses right here, seems legal enough by his standards. And so the two get married, and he actually says his name in her ear this time, probably causing a gasp from the audience or something, and the two are properly pronounced husband and wife. There we go. Obviously I left out a lot since the full version is in the works, but that's the gist. Romantic, fluffy, dramatic, and full of timeline shenanigans. The perfect conclusion to Season 6, where all of its best moments were nothing but that. In my opinion. My correct opinion. But what do you think? Think my version sucks? Think the original sucks? Think one's good? Either way, I'm all ears. Pointy, pointy ears. And teeth. And with that being said, I bid you all farewell. Hey guys, I'm here again to thank you all for watching. And to advertise, of course, like any other good content creator, I guess. My Patreon is down below, as well as my AO3. If this rewrite sounds good, maybe you'll like my other works that are finished. And oh yeah, my webcomic. I have a Doctor Who webcomic. It updates bi-weekly. Read it. Anyway, with all that out of the way, thank you all for watching. Really, I mean it. And I'll see you next time. Bye.